Hi, my name's Christine, and I'm here to talk about hypnosis and past life regression, and I guess something that now you might call soul contact. So, my first experience with it was when I was talking to my sister outside of my mom's house one night. We were sitting in the back, we were having a fire, and there were some people over, and pretty much everybody had left. It was her, and the guy that she was dating at the time, and me outside. And I looked inside and I thought I saw somebody. I thought I saw somebody like walking from the kitchen into the entry area. So I said, "Who is that?" Is I think it was Martin. Is it Martin still here? I thought he left. And she said, "Oh my God, Christine." She's like, "He did leave." She's like, "What? What are you talking about?" My sister wasn't very spiritual at the time. She's kind of a practical person, but she was a little she was a little thrown off by the fact that I just saw somebody walking through the house. So she said, "You know what, Christine, you never think about like the evil or the bad things." She said, "And I've seen in a lot of horror movies people who have a lot of bad things happen to them have like some type of uh, like an evil like hanging on to them, like a demon or like a curse or something." She's like, "There could be some bad energy that's stuck in your energy field, and you got to get that taken care of. You got to get that gone." She said, "You know what? I think you should go to a psychic." And I was kind of surprised, you know? I was surprised that my sister was talking like that, first of all, because she had never said anything like that to me before. And I never talked to her about anything like that. I never really thought about seeing a psychic before. Um, I was probably like uh, maybe like 2014 or so, 2015. So probably like around 30ish years old. And there had been some things that kept happening. It just seemed like a lot of bad things kept happening. So I took her advice and I do pray a lot. So I prayed and I asked God, I just said, please just show me what it is. Like, am I supposed to talk to a certain person? Am I supposed to go see a psychic? And I Googled it. And as soon as I saw this one woman's pictures, Maria's psychic readings, and I live in Massachusetts, and she was like local, but you could still do it over the phone. As soon as I saw her picture, I knew I was supposed to work with her. It was crazy. It was such a strong feeling. So when I contacted her, I asked her to do the Akashic Records reading for me. And then, because I had been talking to a friend about it, I got her a reading too for her birthday. Excuse me. So when I talked to this woman over the phone, she said some prayers and she opened up this space called the Akashic Records, which I had never heard of before. And now I know that there is a gentleman who lived like, like 80 years ago now. And he was called the Sleeping Prophet. His name was Edgar Casey. It's Cayce. And so he had found, interestingly enough, that he was able to go into these hypnotic states. And when he did, he could get help for other people. It started as medical help for himself. That's the first time it happened. Then he got it for somebody else. And then he had a really hard time deciding if he should do this. But he talked about it with his wife, and they decided that if it was true that he really could be of service to the world and he could help people just through putting himself into this hypnotic state and give people medical advice, which seemed to come from this place called, eventually, Edgar Casey called it the Akashic Records. It was like a higher dimension. He wasn't sure at the time how much higher of a dimension, but now it's a possibility. I've heard from other channeled readings that it was possibly the eighth dimension. So he decided, he prayed on it too. He was a man of God. He read the Bible religiously. He read the Bible every year. He was Christian. Um, so he brought this idea of this Akashic records, excuse me, into our everyday life. And when I was sitting on the phone with this woman and we tapped into, I didn't know exactly how, but we prayed, and I'm guessing her frequency raised, my frequency raised, to the point that we were able to get this information. She told me about some past lives that I had had, and how I had been at one time in Africa, like a prophet, but really just in regards to the farming seasons. And I had told the people to do something that normally should have worked, but for some unforeseen situation that came up, it prevented the harvest from coming through at that time. So a lot of people had died. And in that lifetime, I held on to the belief that tapping into my spiritual powers is not good, that it could hurt a lot of people. And I had a lot of guilt about the people who had died because there wasn't enough food. So I had been holding on to that for who knows exactly how long. And when we talked about it, I could see pictures in my head as she was giving me kind of like pieces of a description. She didn't exactly see the same things, but she could hear very clearly. So that was kind of her gift, is auditory, not hallucinations, but sense, auditory sense. And so mine is more of a visual sense, like your third eye, being able to use your imagination. That's kind of where, that's where I first learned, that I have that gift. And I started crying. There was just tears streaming down my face, and it was so healing. I didn't have to know too much about that lifetime. I just had to feel that sensation of forgiving myself at that time, and also of asking God for forgiveness, which I did. And when I came out of it, there was another lifetime that was demanding my attention too. Some other problems I had had were, there's one brother that I have that is close in age to me, and we had argued a lot. And so I just kind of wanted to know, why do we have such a intense relationship? And so it came up that there was another past life we had, that I had been accused of being a witch, and he was one of the people who was responsible for killing me at that time. And so um, when I get stressed out, like up until that point, when I would get stressed out, it would feel like I couldn't breathe. It would feel like there was a, like a lot of people say, like an elephant sitting on my chest. It felt like there was so much pressure here, I just couldn't breathe. And it turns out in that lifetime that the way that they killed me, which I wonder now is probably the way that they killed a lot of people in the old ages, is that the whole community came together and every person kept putting stones on a board until I died, so that no one person would have to carry the guilt, really be responsible for my death. So in that, I could look, this guy in the eye. I was a woman at that time, and he was too, a man at that time. And when I looked him in the eye, I just felt like the same type of sensation, like a flooding of forgiveness towards him. And when I saw him after that, pretty close after the reading, just like a few hours after, I said to him, wouldn't it be crazy, if this was true? And I told him what had happened. And he looked at me really seriously, and he, was a little bit more open to the idea of a spiritual world than my sister at that time. Um, but, again, hadn't thought too much about it. And he said, if I had done that to you, I'm really sorry. And I started crying again. And it was so healing. So it was really a beautiful, beautiful experience. It was really full. It made me be able to take more control of my life in the direction that it was headed, maybe more interested and curious in spiritual matters and learning more about what else is out there. And so it has been a long road, but now here I am, probably about 7 years later. It's 2021, and I had taken a class and learned how to give people that same type of experience. So I took a class um, with the Edgar Cayce Foundation. It's called the Association for Research and Enlightenment. And it was put on by a great guy who had a lot of experience doing regressions. That's what they call them. And it was even more direct than the experience that I had with that woman, because uh, when I first went to the class, we did practice sessions a lot. So when I was first put under, it was just a series of words that he had found, that kind of get people into a really relaxed state. And then once you're relaxed enough, there's some specific hypnotic prompts that they use to bring you into a deeper level of consciousness, which when we go deeper within ourselves, it's really that we raise our frequency to the places where we're going to get the most help, you know? So um, I had another really, which is kind of funny, really troubling set of circumstances come up. So I wanted to find out why I was so afraid of men, and I did. So, working with this gentleman who taught us, he helped to open up the idea that you can really let all the feelings that you had come up fully to the surface. So, that's the way that healing is going to work. That when you go into these hypnotic trance states and you start having a feeling or there's an experience, try your best not to shy away from it. So I did. So I really fully embraced it, and I was there for it. And when I came out of that, I was exhausted. I was so exhausted. I felt like I had done so much work, you know? And there started, an even deeper curiosity within me of what else could I experience under hypnosis myself. So at first it was a little bit more self-centered than me wanting to give it to other people. And I took that class in October, and that was October of last year. And in February of this year, my youngest brother died in a car accident. And it was obviously a car accident. It was very unexpected. And it was terrible for our whole family. And I still miss his physical presence. But I found out that going into these trance states, I could communicate with him and he could communicate with me. So there's a lot more to be had in these hypnotic states than I thought there was. you know, we didn't talk about talking to deceased relatives in class, and I thought that just a psychic with a special ability, to talk to spirits could only do that. And so I found that, excuse me, not only is all of the spiritual world always here, there really is no time. So, so anything that if it had happened to you in the past or if it happened to you in the future, it is true. It really is all happening now, and it can be accessed through these higher frequencies. And so, this turning within and these deeper levels of consciousness that we can reach within ourselves. And for that, I'm really grateful. So now I've done a ton of sessions. I do a session like either every week or every other week, giving or getting. I like to stay close to the people that I worked with in class, when I first went to the sessions, so that I can continue to have sessions and can continue to give them sessions. And out of that, I have forged some very deep relationships, and I'm very grateful, wicked grateful for all of the love and compassion and caring that I've gotten to experience, and also ultimately for the sensation of being able to experience time with my brother who's passed. That's it's just amazing, you know. So 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 that's the beginning of my road working with hypnosis, under hypnosis myself, and putting other people under hypnosis. And I'm always looking to do better, to perfect it. Now it really is a craft, it's a tool. That's, I feel like I'm always looking for ways to better be of service to humanity, and also to keep open that flood of the spiritual information coming in through the gateways. And so I hope that this was helpful to people. If you have any questions about hypnosis, about past life regression, or talking to any deceased relatives, you can feel free to leave a comment below. And with that, I'll see you again soon.